Here, of course, the celebrations will be held in Namutumba district. But of course, a good morning, and for the people that are home, that is for the servants, for the people that are working in government offices, private offices, each and everyone that happens to still be at home, a very good morning and happy new month. Today happens to be the first of the month of May, the year 2023, and of course we're just almost reaching at that part which we call the middle part of the year, and that will be next month. But of course that will also be remarkable as Uganda will be beginning its next financial year. So we can expect that the month of May will be coming with a lot of blessings, and of course we have to expect a lot when it comes to the world of current affairs, as the budget will also be prepared and finalized in this month of May. But of course, for the people that are celebrating their birthdays, for the people that have May as a year, as a month that has a lot of memories for them, we do wish you a blessed month. And of course, from here, BTM Television, my name is Bruce Mugabi, and it is a good morning, though it happens to be a chilly one here in Kampala, as or the biggest parts of Kampala experiencing a little bit of rain drizzles. So good enough, the traffic is not there, because it just takes me I think 10 minutes from my place to here work, because the jam, the traffic, there are no cars on the road, since today happens to be a public holiday. Well, we'll be beginning with what we are expecting today, as of course I said earlier on, it is a public holiday. It is the Labor Day celebrations, and these are going to be held in Namutumba district. We understand this is a district that has one of the leaders or the ministers of land, that is the State Minister for Land, Honorable Persis Namuganza, who was earlier on interdicted by the August House, and we didn't see the president take the next step to get her out of that office. But it is the district of Honorable Persis Namuganza that will be hosting these celebrations as we speak of today. Now we understand that when we speak matters of the Labor Day celebrations, this is a time that we get to celebrate the workers, we get to celebrate the people that have served the nation. This takes the whole group, the teachers, it takes doctors, the engineers, the lawyers, us, the journalists. It takes almost all categories. In fact, it covers all the categories of the workers in Uganda. And of course, we do celebrate you today, and take some time off and reflect on what you've been doing. And this day should also be used to see to it that the matters of collective bargaining in workers, and also matters of the labor unions are strengthened in there, because we understand that these are groups that bring together all different workers that are under the same profession. Now, as we'll be celebrating today the Labor Day, we expect to see that the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni will also be gracing that ceremony in there. Yeah, excuse me. Now, so we speak matters of the Labor Day, and also would like to recognize the efforts of all the workers out there. If you are a worker, we do recognize your efforts as BTM Television. But we kick straight off to today's news review. Now, I will not be beginning from very far, just begin from just my neighborhood here, which is Murago. Now, we understand that as of exactly midnight, that was earlier on at midnight, the doctors or the senior house officers industrial action did kick off. Now, this is the doctors' strike again. We understand we've been witnessing the intern medical doctors, or the expected to be intern medical doctors on strike, because the government did release a letter, and of course that is through the Ministry of Health, indicating that there is no money to cater for the appointment of these medical interns to different medical hospitals. Now, this has created a huge lot of fuss in the public, among the doctors in their profession. And, we did see on Monday last week, several intern doctors being arrested by the police and taken to the Central Police Station. This was over, the riots as they are trying to, petition different offices of government officials, but specifically the office of the Speaker. Now, yesterday, the senior house officers did come out also and announce that they are now joining the industrial action. And of course, this is to regards with the non-payment of their 6 months arrears. Now, I don't know why this has continuously been an issue, but year in, year out, the medical doctors are striking. It is either the intern doctors or it would be the medical doctors. But that is a point that is continuously being put to the Ministry of Health and also the Ministry of Public Service. However, communication coming in from the Ministry of Public Service, they say that they are continuously working on these matters, and for the medical doctors or the senior house officers going in for another industrial action is something that they could have resorted to as a last resort. But communications and dialogue should be promoted among these two factions. Now, we understand that according to these medical doctors, as of today, they will be only attending to the emergency conditions or giving only emergency services, and this is to the people that are in critical condition, or maybe there is an emergency. These are the only people that they will be attending to. Now, those of course are the images of the medical interns that were striking last week and also the previous week. And now we understand that they are currently now being joined by the senior house officers. Well, according to this, we did understand that on the 5th of March, the year 2023, we saw these medical doctors or the senior house officers suspending the industrial action that they had started, and this was after they had several communications with the government of Uganda. But we now see them resorting to the strike again. Now, maybe the situation was not resolved between the two, and would like, of course, we continue to try and look in there to understand what is the situation or what can be done about the current situation. Because when we see that these are not in hospitals, this of course creates a huge gap in the medical industry. It does create a huge gap, because now the medical interns are not yet deployed in several hospitals, and these have been the people doing the donkey work. And now that they are not available, and we're also seeing the senior house officers who are supposed to be guiding them also not available, because according to the message that did come in from the Minister of Health, that is Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, she did say that the medical interns not being present in the hospitals does not mean that there is a gap. And of course, we understand that she was, referring to the current ongoing bickering. But now that the senior house officers are not in hospitals also, does it, create a gap, or it doesn't? But of course, the minister does now understand that this creates a big gap, since the people that have been carrying out the job, that is the medical interns and the senior house officers, are all, not available to provide services to the to the ordinary Ugandan. And of course, this leaves us, the ordinary Ugandans, in a deep and a state of quagmire, because who will be giving us the medical services? And you understand that sickness does not wait for anyone, or it does not try to first see are there medical doctors, are there medical doctors. Sickness just comes in anytime, any day. So we are of course going to be experiencing lack of services in the hospitals, and that will be countrywide, because these senior house officers are not in hospitals to give services because they demand a little bit of 6 months arrears, and of course we understand that at least 10.2 billion Uganda shillings has been allocated to the Ministry of Health, and this is quite a little bit low than the earlier budget that was always being allocated to the Ministry of Health. And will this now be still adding more salt in the wound? Because as we speak, the current financial year, the money that was being given to the Ministry of Health was a bit higher, and now that it is being reduced, does this add more salt to the wound? Does this make the situation deep, and does it put it in a dire state? But of course, the issues of the medical doctors are what we need to look out for, as their industrial action for the senior house officers did kick off at exactly midnight, and that was as we're experiencing or going to today morning. Now, still in the news review, we understand that fighting is still going on in Sudan, but of course we did see several Ugandans, about 211, being evacuated from the Republic of Sudan, though we did see the Turkish aircraft that was going into the airspace of Sudan to rescue, or maybe to bring out the people, the Turkish citizens who were living in Sudan. It was shot at, and of course this was confirmed by the Turkish officials. But we understand that as we speak now, at least about 50 Ugandans still remain in Sudan, and according to the government, they're trying to see and ascertain on how they can be able to rescue these Ugandans from the bullets that are flying all over in the in Khartoum and also the other neighboring districts there in Sudan. But yesterday we did see some allegations that were coming in from several Ugandans that the ambassador of Uganda to Sudan, who did travel back with the Ugandans that were evacuated, and that was last week. We did see allegations coming in that he did, or there were some other foreign nationals that were evacuated alongside Ugandans, but these claims were refuted by the ambassador. And I don't know how this did come about, because we understand that the number that was brought to Uganda, these amounted to at least 211 Ugandans who were evacuated. But these did include, of course, the the embassy workers, that is the embassy of Uganda. But these were refuted by the ambassador, and he says that Ugandans are the only people that were brought back. They were the only people that were rescued, and that was coming in yesterday, as he did, of course, speak to the media. But the biggest, issue in Sudan is, the two factions have continuously refused to, ascertain and come to a meeting point, because currently the president of Southern Sudan, that is His Excellency Salva Kiir, has, of course, given himself out there to Sudan to act, as the mediator between the two generals. And of course, that is the Rapid Support Forces General, and also, the leader of the Defense Forces of Sudan. And we understand that these, they were once working together at some point, and that was, as we did see, the president, that is Omar el-Bashir, being ousted out of power. But now these have refused to, meet and see if they can speak and come out with a conclusion, because we've seen projections by the international bodies that this crash that is in Sudan could be worse than that occurred in Syria, because as you can see on the streets, just on the screen, the cars, the military patrols are all over the streets, bullets are flying over the streets, and this of course does impact on the people of Sudan. It does impact economically, as we understand that reports coming in there, there's lack of medical services, there is lack of clean water, there is lack of food, and these happen to be the basic necessities for the ordinary person to live with. But of course, with these not being in place, this of course makes the situation a little bit hectic, a little bit hard, a little bit stringent for the people in Sudan to live with. But of course, we do know that as we speak now, some of the Sudanese or some of the people that even don't belong to Sudan and were applying for visas are now in their state, as their passports are also they are missing. Rather, they've been, some of them had applied to different embassies to get visas to other countries, and their passports are still in these offices which are currently closed. And this of course puts them in a situation where they cannot leave the nation or cannot leave the premises or the vicinity of Sudan because they don't have the proper documents to take them outside of the country. But of course, we've seen the United Nations also, come out on this same point, saying that the people of Sudan or the leaders in Sudan should make sure that the people have their documents, proper documents, because you cannot stop someone from leaving a country or coming into a country. And of course, this of course relates to the international conventions that Sudan is part of. And when you look at these international conventions, they do of course prescribe that citizens should be given the liberty to cross into or cross out of the nation. So this did come in from the United Nations, calling upon the government or maybe the people responsible for these to see to it that the people who had applied for visas earlier on can be given back their passports to be able to leave the nation. Well, of course, that is what is coming in from Sudan. But when we go back here in Uganda, we understand the anti-homosexuality bill 2023 is still creating huge contention in the public and also on the international scene. We did see a letter that my producer will be sharing in just a few minutes now. We did see a letter that did come in from the United States, and that was to the agency that is providing a little bit of relief and a little bit of help in terms of funds to fight HIV/AIDS in Uganda. Of course, HIV/AIDS in Uganda is one of the biggest pandemics that did strike Uganda in the early 1990s, and this of course did see several Ugandans lose their lives. Up until now, Ugandans are still losing lives to HIV/AIDS, though the rates have a little bit reduced because of the campaigns that have been put in place to fight the virus. But in these campaigns, some are being financed or some are being brought or availed to Ugandans. Now, that was the letter that did come in from the United Nations. And if I can just read for you a little bit of what is entailed in that letter. It says, on behalf of the ambassador, we are sharing the message below regarding the postponement of the PEPFAR Uganda County Operation Plan 2023, that is COP23 strategy presentation, originally scheduled for the 28th of April, the year 2023. We appreciate your partnership throughout the COP23 development process and will continue to work with you as we navigate the next steps. Now, this is, of course, when you look at the letter, they say, Dear PEPFAR Uganda family, I want to thank you for your diligent efforts during the past weeks for developing the Uganda COP23 plans in a highly complex and shifting landscape. In light of the recent developments with a potential signing of the Anti-Homosexuality Act, AHA, and how that could impact our ability to provide services, meeting previously scheduled for the 28th. And of course, this postponement will allow us more time to collectively and effectively access the legal and programmatic implications of evolving legislation and broader environment in Uganda, which impacts on PEPFAR-supported HIV/AIDS programs and make relevant adjustments in order to resolve the COP23 plans as appropriate. Now, that is the letter that you're seeing on your screens coming in there from the office of the Embassy of the United States of America, and it is dated the 25th of April, the year 2023. So that makes it a letter that does bring out some of the thoughts, and of course this is in regard to the anti-homosexuality bill 2023. Earlier on we did see a contention coming in from the president as he did meet the legal committee and members of parliament on that committee, saying that this could implicate on the economy of Uganda, because these MPs were told to brace themselves to tighten their belts, because this could cost them a little bit of their salaries, allowances, as of course when they when things become tough. Of course, tight measures are also put in place by the government. So that is one of the letters that is showing now what the United States of America is, feeling, or the feelings that they have towards signing or the anti-gay bill. However, we've seen several critics in Uganda say that Uganda is a sovereign country, and there is a need for Uganda to legislate for the people of Uganda and not the people living out of Uganda. However, some people are also saying that Uganda is not an island. It cannot coexist with it has to coexist with other nations. But the president, Yoweri Museveni, did send back this bill to parliament for further scrutiny, and particularly this is in regards to Section 2 and 3 of the Anti-Homosexuality Act. And when you look at these two sections, they do relate to someone being taken as a homosexual. So according to the president, Yoweri Museveni, he says that when one is branded a homosexual and has not been caught in acts of homosexuality, that person cannot be punished as prescribed by this act. Now, this is the biggest point of contention that the president wants Parliament to review. And, according to the legal committee in Parliament, it will take them about 2 weeks to, do more consultations with the stakeholders. Of course, this includes, the Attorney General, we have the civil society, we have the ordinary Ugandans, the religious factions, and of course the government. So, the legal committee will be taking about 2 weeks to, look more into the bill that was taken back or referred back to them, by the President, Yoweri Museveni, to see to it that, they can do a little bit of adjustments in there. But we expect that, the religious leaders, the government will still come out on this, because they are the people that have been vocal when it came to the bringing up or the the fronting of the anti-gay bill 2023 by Honorable Asman Basadidwa. But we will be of course giving you all the details that will be coming in there on that point. But as we speak, things don't look good for Uganda, and I cannot wait to see what the public has to say about this, because we'll be of course bringing you the views of the ordinary Ugandans in our subsequent news bulletins there, as they are giving their thoughts on the anti-homosexuality bill 2023. Now, still we'll be speaking other matters that are of course in the country, and that will be relating to what did transpire on Friday, as President Yoweri Museveni was the guest of honor at the late prosecutor, that is Joan Kagezi's memorial lecture. And this was a public memorial lecture where we did see several prosecutors, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions also in there, and that is the DPP's office. Now, while attending this event, the President, Yoweri Museveni, did of course heed to the requests of the Director of Public Prosecutions. And according to these requests, the DPP's office was requesting that the prosecutors of that are affiliated to this office, or the government prosecutors, should be, excused from paying income tax. Now, we understand that in Uganda, the soldiers, the judges, and also the police do not, pay income tax, or they are not, income tax is not deducted on their salaries. So these get a full amount of their salaries. And of course, this has been going on for quite a little bit of time. And of course, this is provided for in Section 21 of the Income Tax Act. However, the DPP's office was also requesting that the prosecutors, that is government prosecutors, are also excused from paying income tax. And in his words, the president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, came out and said that, these should be excused because, there are about 300 government prosecutors. And even if they are increased to about 800, this does not effectively cost the economy of the country. That is, the income tax that is deducted from their salaries does not affect on the economy of the country. I'm not sure about that because according to the last time I checked, each and every tax does contribute to the nation, and if it is not paid, if it is evaded, it of course does impact on the nation. But the thoughts of the DPP and the okaying of this by the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is all backed with motivating the public prosecutors, because the president says that let's get done with this. Let's remove the income tax from the prosecutors and let them now fail on their own. Let them fail to do their job on their own. So these were the words of the president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. But the prosecutors did, of course, welcome this. Though we understand that according to the DPP, that is Jane Francis Abodo, she also did reveal that at least in Uganda, looking at all the districts, 54 districts in Uganda lack, public prosecutors, and these of course are the people that are representing the government when it comes to matters to do with the courts of law. Now, according to the DPP, at least Uganda, out of 100%, we have 60% of public prosecutors, or the country is covered only up to 60% when it comes to availability of the public prosecutors. And of course, this does create a need for more recruitment, more training of more prosecutors in Uganda, so as to smoothly run the business. And of course, these are the people that legally represent a government. And according to one of the thoughts, or one of the ideas backing the removal of the income tax from these, or the directive of the president, is that the public prosecutors do receive or do work hand in hand with the police CID, with these different security operatives who do not pay income tax. And whenever the CID, does, conclude on investigations, the files are then, sent to the DPP's office. And this is where the prosecutors, of course, fall. And they also take on the mantle, or take on the same job that, has been done by the police and also maybe security operatives. And then later on, take it to the judges, who are also the people that do not pay income tax. Now, this was the argument of the public prosecutors as they did, of course, present their case to the president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Well, my brother MC Chi, since he seems not to be around for today, will be still, of course, looking at the biggest stories, the biggest news, highlights that we can continue to expect and hope that will be shaping up the week. But of course, this is the Daybreak, the show that kickstarts your day, and from Monday to Friday, exactly 7 to 9 a.m. we are always here to give you the biggest conversations happening around town, breaking them down for you, and of course squeezing or maybe quizzing your leader, if at all there's a leader that you see he or she wants or should be providing accountability for the office. Or I mean, you know, there's some a little bit of you know, uncertainties in their offices, and what I can assure you that we are always here to bring to light and shed more light on the happenings in those different government offices, in the happenings in the offices of those different leaders in our societies. Now we cross the borders again and you know, moved to our neighboring sister, and that is Kenya. Now yesterday, my producer will be of course also revealing that image that is there. We did see the President of the Republic of Kenya, and that is William Samoei Ruto, appoint a new that is CDF, and we did see that Lieutenant General Francis Omondi was promoted to the rank of general, and also appointed the new chief of the Defense Forces of Kenya. And of course, this of course is you know, given to the president, or this authority is given to the president via Section 9, subsection 2 of the Kenya Defense Forces Act. And this prescribes that the president can, you know, promote and also, you know, choose a CDF at any time T, since the president is the commander-in-chief of the defense forces. Now, we did see him being appointed, and you know, recently he was on the rank of lieutenant general, and also did serve in the office of the vice or the deputy defense forces. Now, of course, this post was of course you know, taken from the previous CDF of this Kenyan nation, and that was Robert Kibochi, and whose tenure at the helm of the military had come to an end. So Ogora's appointment was also announced on Friday in a statement that was released by the Kenyan head of state. Now we see that prior to this latest appointment, General Francis Omondi Ogora was serving as the vice chief of the Kenyan Defense Forces, just like I did you know, communicate earlier on. And of course, we hope that this would be a good decision for the Republic of Kenya, as we hope to see that the security in Kenya is you know, tightened and made more stringent, so that you know, those terror attacks that Kenya has on several occasions witnessed can be you know, averted, or you know, can be stopped, and peace you know, does come back to the Republic of Kenya. But I'm afraid that is what we had for you for today's news highlights. Today being a Monday, and today being a public holiday, you know, for the people that are home, hopefully you know, you can stick around with us as we do look at the biggest points of contention, the biggest matters that do shape up, you know, the national you know, stature. You know, hopefully you can stick around for the topic of discussion, as we'll be seeing what to discuss in there. We have the dilapidated state of the roads in Kampala, and you know, we are seeing that the budgets that are being released for, you know, the rehabilitation of these projects are also not enough, because 1 kilometer of road in Kampala, you know, is expected to at least cost 10 billion Uganda shillings. Now, wow, this is quite a huge amount of money, but we'll be looking at that in a few. Well, at this point in time, I'd like to say have a good morning, but do stick around.